DJ LeRoy, what is going on?
NightWatchman, how you doing, my buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. You have a good week or what?
Always. We're in Black History Month and Black Future Month, so I'm feeling the energy from my ancestors and feeling positive about the future.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we have a great show this evening.
First of all, do you like the theater background here?
I do like it. You're always kind of like tweaking a few things there. I see.
Just trying to make the space hospitable for our guests.
Yes. You kind of like read my mind because literally they're going to be walking in. These thespians are going to be walking into the theater and doing their thing, huh?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've got a select collection of some of the finest actors here in New York City these days, and maybe the world.
Absolutely. Well,
would you like to give the introductions?
I'd like to get it popping, as they say. This first actress I'm going to bring up is currently filming and recurring in Power Book 3 as Lillian Gaines, in Godfather of Harlem, also in Joker and Bull. I mean, her film and theater credits are just astronomical. As a matter of fact, I remember her also having, for Black History Month, a recurring role where she would bring to young people around New York City her interpretation of Zora Neale Hurston. Let's give it up for Miss Kim Brockington. Come on out here, Kim.
Oh, it's the wrong one.
How you doing? Yay!
And
hey,
somebody, I'd fire the engineer, but then
that's all right. That's all right. That's my sister, JillMarie Lawrence. That's okay.
I blew the surprise.
No worries.
Well, the next actress I'm going to bring out last appeared off Broadway in the production of The Revolving Cycles Truly and Steadily Rolled as Madame Rose Prophet at the Duke Theater. Please, she's also an accomplished actress on stage and screen. Give it up for Miss JillMarie Lawrence. All right.
All right.
And remember, and the only other person I know, NightWatchman, to come from Buffalo besides Rick James. So, yes.
All right.
Absolutely. Next brother I want to bring up, he is an actor, director, playwright, poet, storyteller, and teacher. His work has been presented locally, nationally, and internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Daniel Carlton. Daniel!
Good evening.
Beautiful. Now, I kind of like joke with this brother a lot of times because he literally is the brother who first told me, and it's got to be about 4 or damn near 5 years ago, about this particular play that was out there called One Night in Miami. Okay? He is a NAACP award winner, an Obie Award winner, producing artistic director of the Classical Theater in Harlem, who, as you know, if you hanging out in Harlem during the summer, you know you're going to be right there at the theater outside watching one of their phenomenal productions. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Ty Jones. Ty. All right. And Ty, just a little sidebar question I had for you. So let's say, yes, we know that there is a film out, One Night in Miami.
Yeah.
Is it possible, just possible, that CTH could possibly bring it outdoors?
Outdoors?
Yeah, during the summer, just saying.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's possible. Yep.
Okay.
But, it's just a matter of, just to give you a little bit of history. So we have a reading series called Future Classics.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically plays that we think, if given the test of time, they will one day indeed become classics. Kemp Powers is someone that I've known for a few years. He had this play. I thought it was awesome.
Yep.
We did a reading of it. Carl Cofield, who is now the Associate Artistic Director of Classical Theater of Harlem, was the director of that. Then Kemp went back to LA, which is where he lives, called me up to say, hey, there's a theater that's doing a reading of my play. I need somebody to play Sam Cooke. I can't find somebody who will actually sing Sam Cooke's music in LA. So he asked me to fly out, which I did. I did the reading. The artistic director of that theater, it was called Rogue Machine Theater. As soon as we were done with that reading, jumped up on stage and says, we're going to do this play next year. So my hope is that, okay, it gets done in LA. I've put my sweat equity in. Hopefully I'll have raised the money to have, bring the play back to CTH. About 9-10 months later, Kemp calls me again and he says, we don't have somebody to play Sam Cooke. Will you come out and play it? And the LA has an entirely different system around theater. They have this 99 seat rule where literally you're paying to be in the theater. So they don't pay you really. So, you got paid like $7 per show, something along those lines. So I flew out there. I have 3 kids, left them back here in New York with my wife, Jill. And I went out there for 2 months. Long story short, the show was a hit, won an NAACP award. We were on NPR. And then Abco, it's a company, Alan B. Klein Company. Alan Klein was the manager for Sam Cooke, and I believe he was for Rolling Stones and for the Beatles at one point in time. And so it's not a big secret, but one of the things about Alan Klein is this. When Alan Klein passed away, and I think it was 2009 or something like that, the obits said something along the lines of like the person responsible for the breakup of the Beatles is finally dead. So this dude was not a popular cat, but you guys, I don't need to tell this group here, the games that are played with artists back in those days by managers and record companies and so on and so forth. They didn't own their masters, things along those lines, completely taken advantage of. Anyway, Sam was too smart for that and was about to say, sayonara to Alan Klein. Then he dies. Alan Klein then goes to Sam's widow and was like, here's $100,000. Give me everything of Sam's. And they were estranged at the time, and they took, and so anyway, Alan Klein's company, his son Jody, his team came to show up at this little 100-seat theater in LA, okay, with the intent of shutting it down.
Oh,
right? They watched it and they were like, whoa. And if I'm not mistaken, they were already in talks with another writer on a Sam Cooke story, shelved that to say, hey, Kemp, we like this. And but at that point, when you're coming in with enhancement money, let's just call it that. Yes. All right. They got to say where it was going to go. So then they were like, we won't allow Classical Theater of Harlem to do it because if we do a Broadway show, that could get in the way of what we're doing. And everybody in this room knows that is absolutely ridiculous. Is that if anything, they always test things out with smaller theaters before they go to Broadway. So,
I got you, man. Hold your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. And Messeret, do I even have to give you an introduction because everyone knows you? You have been with us how many times? As a matter of fact, I think NightWatchman, is she or is she not our third unadorned host here at Soul Lounge Primetime or what?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, she is a strong, stirring actress, and of course her work now with the American Slavery Project, because Lord knows I'm hearkening back for when we were talking about the whole suffrage movement, and when she has that talk in the parlor. What else can you say? Messeret, how you doing, my dear?
There's one other thing to say. I believe she's just been awarded a change maker award. What?
Yeah, just on the list of change makers, present day change makers. Yeah. A group of Black artists who are, making a difference. So.
Yes, you are. You absolutely
right.
Beautiful.
Thank you for having me here. Good evening, fellas and ladies, everyone.
And NightWatchman, we could not have anything, especially talking about thespians and actors and actresses, without having Messeret. You know this already.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
You guys, look, the check is in the mail.
All right. That's how we do.
So needless to say, I want to actually. Okay, we are in the midst of course, the pandemic. But before the pandemic, I want to know, what has your journey been as an actor and actress of color? What has your journey been in the field? Do tell, Miss Brockington.
Oh. Yes,
But Kim, are you there?
I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm hoping I'm hearing this well.
Yes,
You are.
yes, you
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what did you ask? I didn't hear you
Oh, you didn't
completely.
hear it? Oh, I'm sorry. What has your journey been pre the pandemic? What has it been like you as an actress of color in the field? How's it been? Tell me about your journey.
Oh, that's a long story.
Okay, I want you to give me your short your short version of that. So go
Okay,
ahead.
because I'm an old showgirl, so it's been a journey. Um, well, what can I say? I graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, um, and right after graduation, I did for Color Girls. It's a national tour, and it just kept going. The For me as a black woman, I was told that I would not be able to do certain things. And of course, my mother told me I can do anything I want to do because everything in life is going to be difficult no matter what you choose to do. So you may as well do what you love to do. And that's what I did. And she believed that I could do anything. So don't let anybody tell me that I can't. And I
Nice.
finally found, agents and people that I wanted to work with me.
Hmm.
Um, but I will say this at this part in my journey,
Hmm.
um, I always found different things to do. I act, I sing, I write, I do voiceovers, I do commercials, I do everything that I can possibly do. I think as a as a performer, you have to be well rounded. You have to expand yourself as much as possible. You have to be able to do creative projects sometimes on your own.
Hmm.
Like right now, I'm writing more. So it just depends on which part of the journey you're in. Zora came to me, but before Zora, I had done another one woman show called Letters from a New England Negro. Zora was like a wonderful gift that was given to me through Woody King and
Uh-huh.
Elizabeth Van Dyke. She couldn't do the show one time, and they asked me to do it, and I did. And then Win Handman came to me later and asked me to do it as a one woman show. So we rewrote it as much as possible, as much as Lawrence Holder would allow us to.
Hmm.
And then we started touring it for younger people.
Hmm.
And then I took the show off and produced it myself and
Nice.
started doing it in various different places like the Bahamas and the Library of Congress, the
Hmm.
Kennedy Center. So it's actually on the air if you want to see it for free.
Okay.
You would have to put in Zora Neale Hurston, Library of Congress, and it's there.
Okay.
My name is not on it. It's for Literature to Life. You would have to put in Literature to Life,
Hmm.
Zora Neale Hurston, Library of Congress, and it will pop up the whole show. And
Excellent.
I'm actually going to post that on Facebook at some point in time so that people can go and look at it.
Okay.
If they have nothing else to do during this pandemic. I mean,
See,
but what else are you doing?
absolutely. Thank you for that, Kim. Daniel, now you, as a matter of fact, said that, of course, besides being an actor, during this particular lockdown, you've had to, and you have welcomed your pivot. Please do tell about your pivot.
Okay, so I'll try to be brief. This has been a really, really busy year, and it started with panic, you know. And one of like I do a variety of things, and one of the things I was doing was a gig at Columbia for an art exhibit where I was writing material to the art, and then was going to perform it for the poetry and storytelling for these young people. And about 2 minutes before the performance, they emptied out the building and said,
Wow. Wow.
it's over. Like, everybody go home, get out of here. You got 2 minutes, grab your stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, we are in trouble. So that's where it started, in a state of panic.
Got
And
it.
then I started thinking about all the gigs. Like it was going to be such an amazing year in terms of like a lot of these things. But it turned out to be an amazing year because of those things that got canceled and because of the things that came out of it. One of the things I was doing was I had a directing gig at a university, at the University of Iowa, and it was supposed to direct a new piece and then of course they couldn't figure out what to do, and so I suggested that we just get every designer that they have, and we're going to figure out how to virtually present this without it being like a bunch of Zoom boxes. Like, how do we lean into design? And so I took a lot of literature from people like Audre Lorde and Baldwin and Maya and all these people, and then I devised the play based on the idea of Dunbar's "We Wear the Mask," with probably 90% of not people of color. And
Wow.
then George Floyd happened and exploded the whole thing. But what I learned from that is that the key was to really start leaning into design and to leaning into ways to what I call unzooming the Zoom. Um, and also shifting with my partner, the amazing Nambi Kelly. We started combining like resource gigs. You know, it's like, okay, well, what do you have that possibly could have been canceled? What do I have? And I'll direct it, or you do a piece, or we'll co-write something. And so in our partnership, we've been really figuring out ways to make it happen. And we have had a lot of success with adapting to the needs of design, words, design, and presentation in this pandemic. I showed you a clip. So I've been working with actors now in green screens and places like that who've never met each other. You know, never been in a room,
But
never.
quite impressive, Daniel. Quite
Oh my
impressive.
God, sending
Yes.
people green screens and mics and then sending them back to Amazon because we're like, after the project is over and returning them.
Oh my
So,
God.
just trying to figure out how to make it happen. And also, I've been working a lot internationally in terms of working and directing in situations, the same thing where people are not in the same room, but combining that green screen mic element and really directing from that space. And in terms of performance, even kind of learning, like green screen technology and getting your mic game and all that stuff up, and sort of teaching people that even when this is over, like these are skills you can keep. So
Absolutely.
that's where I've
Absolutely.
been.
Thank you, my brother. JillMarie, Buffalo, talk to me. Your mic is muted. Ah, there you go.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Born and raised in Buffalo, New York, so I know about frigid conditions. That's what I was.
For sure.
But
So tell me about your journey, my dear.
well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I got to say right off the rip, if this was different, I wouldn't probably say it, but I got to say it because we're on the broadcast together. My meal ticket into this industry was understudying Miss Kim Brockington
Oh,
in
whoa.
in a production of Thunder Knocking at the Door by Keith Glover. So that was many moons ago. But whenever I look at Kim, whenever I see Kim, whenever I see Kim's name, I think about that because that's how I entered into the industry, by being her understudy, and I got my union card
Wow.
understudying Miss Brockington, Queen.
Nice. Very nice.
My journey has been very interesting. It's multi-layered, multicolored. Um, I am a graduate of the Yale School of Drama, classically trained, and really coming right out of the floodgates. I started working right away, episodic work, and I was on Law and Order Special Victims Unit as attorney Cleo Conrad for quite a stint of time, and then other opportunities came about. I left Special Victims Unit and I went teaching abroad, actually, in developing countries, in secondary schools, doing theater and drama workshops. with an organization called the International Theater Literacy Project. And I have to say, the whole cross-cultural exchange was very eye-opening. And I've been to West Africa, I've been to South Africa, I've been to East Africa, I've been on the island of Zanzibar, and teaching artists work, and it was really a great experience. And so in recent times, I've been participating in film festivals right before the pandemic, well, let me put a couple of things into context. Right before the pandemic, and there was also the shutdown, right before the shutdown, the literal shutdown, I was involved in a project and with a theater festival right here in New York. And so I had to piggyback what Kim said. You do many things. What I say is I do everything but porn. I do not do but in this world you gotta keep your hands wet. And I have to readily testify and say that since the pandemic, the one thing that has not stopped for me and that has been pretty consistent is my vocal work, is my voiceovers. I've really been, I have like my own makeshift studio in my home, and I've been doing that actually for about 3 or 4 years. And the world of animation, I've embarked upon that even more, probably more since my entire career, actually, during this time. So I'm glad the ball has not dropped completely in terms of income.
Thank you for that, for sure. Ty Jones, do tell, because I mean, you had a lot of mofos who were a little bit like upset when they saw this FBI agent power, and he's not there. What's up? Do tell.
Hey, how are you, everyone? Yeah, so I had six seasons on the television show. 5 seasons on the television show Power. It was great. I think right now it's just trying to maintain those relationships, because a lot of writers, they go off and do their own projects, and you hope they bring you along. In terms of what's been going on since the pandemic, I'm a father of 3, so right now we're sharing Wi-Fi all the time. Goes down, goes back up. So managing all that, and then with the Classical Theater of Harlem, I'm thankful that that things are. I always say that we're maintaining. That's essentially where we are right now. We're able to move a lot of our content online. We have one of the pieces of content that we do is called Behind the Curtain. So it's just basically a digital hub that hosts a variety of special performances and educational content and insightful interviews in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the Harlem Renaissance. So before the pandemic, the 2020 was going to be all about the Harlem Renaissance, what was going on 100 years ago, and how we're standing on the shoulders of these greats to essentially inform us about community maintenance. Because 100 years ago, those folks were dealing with things like health care and political issues, and a lot of the times what Black folks did, because they were under siege, just like some folks are right now. They had to improvise. They had to figure out a way. They knew the hand that they were dealt, and they persevered. So what we wanted to do as a theater company was to highlight some of the folks that we don't hear as much about, because we hear about Hurston and we hear about Hughes. So we want to talk about some of the folks that don't have as high of a profile, and what their contributions were to community maintenance and conversations and critiques as well. During that period of time. So that's been sort of what's been going on. I'm like everybody else, auditioning, trying to get that next gig as well, but maintaining.
Beautiful. Messeret, certainly NightWatchman and I, we thoroughly enjoyed when National Black Theater hosted American Slavery Project there to see a number of the performances, but then suddenly COVID. We have to pivot. We have to move. We have to do something different. So do tell, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, so when the pandemic happened, actually right before the pandemic happened, we did In the Parlor, which is based on Black women in the suffrage movement, and Mary Church Terrell's character speaking with other women that were a part of the movement or the suffrage movement about becoming a part of the Women's March that was the Women's March of 1913. And we performed it at Riverdale Country School. The next day, there was the lockdown, and I think Broadway said, we're shutting down for 2 weeks. So we kind of said, okay, well, we'll catch our breath here for a minute, right? And see what happens. I always say, I'm a Southern girl in a New York world. And to backtrack even a little more, I have my degree from Florida A&M University, which is a HBCU. And, we are very happy about our new vice president. And I champion the fact that, she's an HBCU grad. Also, she's a member of, or we're both members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which was a part of our In the Parlor story as well. Yep. You see the women of Delta Sigma Theta who were formed because they wanted to be a part of the march, and they were a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. But the women of Alpha Kappa Alpha said, no, I don't think we would like to be a part in that way. And we actually find that Nellie Quander, who was in the play, she had written a letter to Alice Paul, who was the white woman in charge of making the march happen, to say, please let these women be a part of the march. And anyway, In the Parlor is a part of that. In the Parlor, we had performed, yes, at National Black Theater. We also had some support in bringing it down to the March on Washington Film Festival down in 2019, and it was very well received. We had it initially, it was going to be for 2020 a performance. We were doing Black Women and the Ballot, a full night of 3 shows that highlighted rebellions, large and small, that Black women did to help get the right to vote. But with the pandemic, we, after the shutdown and it continued to go on, we said, okay, we have to do something. And that's when Judy Tate, who is the producing artistic director of American Slavery Project, she had always kind of wanted to do audio drama. And so we said, we'll do it in the format of audio drama. And we were very fortunate to enlist 16 theater partners, including Classical Theater of Harlem. Thank you very much, Ty Jones, to help spread the word and share about it, to promote it. And so we aired it on YouTube to a wonderful live audience, and had a talk back afterwards. And that actually forced me, I already was auditioning like everybody from home every once in a while for voiceovers, but I, since then, got a closet together. My husband was very excited about it. Some of you know him, Ed. He's also was an actor. And we put a closet together with soundproofing foam and a mic, got it all together. So I'm doing voiceovers. I did a CBS national spot, and, I've done voiceovers in the past, done video games and commercials and on-camera commercials, but I'm a theater baby at heart. That excuse me, I've done when I first came to New York, I did a show called Just a Night Out, which was a musical, which I've never done again, but I'm not much of a singer. I'm like, I'm a dancer and I can act, but I sang a little bit. I'm like, I got through it. It was good. That was really fun. I had interned with NEC before then, and the woman who was over NEC, Susan Watson Turner, it was her play. And then from there, I've done some different things. I've gotten a Delco with it. When I did Blue, we did it originally in Arena Stage, and then we brought it up to Roundabout Theater Company, and that was with the very beautiful, very talented Miss Felicia Rashad. Yes. But we got Adelcos from that. And from there, I've just been doing, some TV, Law and Order, SVU, Sopranos, that kind of thing. And, voiceovers and, just keeping busy like everybody else, auditioning, like Ty said, trying to get the next gig. And But now actually being a part of American Slavery Project, I have Black Women in the Ballot, which is on our YouTube channel that people can see, and also Fast Blood, which is a full-length play that we did, and we had in our archives. We were able to put that up. Excuse me, and it's I say a masterpiece of a play written by Judy Tay. It deals with a enslaved couple in 1845 who happen upon this hanging figure, and you get to see the connections that they have. I'll just kind of say that briefly about that, and that's available on YouTube. And then being in this lockdown, I've had a chance to work on a couple of readings, and one I did Orlando Shakespeare Festival, and it was really interesting. And some of my peers here may have had similar experiences during this lockdown, that everybody was everywhere. I'm here in New York. There was another actor here in New York. We had an actor who was in Australia. We had an actor in LA. The writer was in LA. The director was in DC. The actual theater company is Orlando. So, I think we are during this time making connections with people that maybe we might not have necessarily been able to do because we're here in New York. Well, in this case was Orlando, the writer was in LA, so it's really fun to be able to make those connections during this time, and be fortunate enough to, and hey, like Daniel said, I also, another thing with doing on camera auditions, because now we have to do that, not just sending in for voiceover work, but on camera auditions. So I've got a blue screen, I've got a green screen, I have a black, I've got different colors, I've got all of them. So I'm like, hey, I'm ready, I'm available. I'm ready when you need me.
That has been one of the interesting things. And I know, Daniel, I know that your tech game is like superb. By show of hands, does everybody have the technology necessary to actually do your auditions, do your readings in-house?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Good. Did you, once the lockdown occurred, had you always had this technical acumen, or did you develop it during the lockdown?
Hey, Curtis, before I just want to say my tech game is not superb, but my ability to ask the right questions is pretty high.
Got it. Good one.
And I say that we're all kind of learning, right? As we go, we're learning, teaching ourselves. I heard someone recently say it's not, you don't know it and then do it. You learn it and then do it. So it's kind of like what's happening. We're forcing ourselves. Everyone has had to become tech savvy. We had Felicia be a part of our Black Women in the Ballot audio dramas. And one of the things she was like, I'm a dinosaur. I'm like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Good one.
So we're all kind of having to step in.
Gotcha.
So how do you find it working in these new platforms, Zoom, and now people are experimenting doing radio dramas on Clubhouse, and so it seems like we don't get a chance to be in front of live audiences, but you get a chance to make these connections that maybe you normally wouldn't make. Anybody?
It's been fun. I mean, it's been a new experience because, I think too on the technology and just the kind of things that you can do behind the scenes. With one of the readings I did, they shifted our squares here, they shifted the squares around and they had them moving. So it's just a whole nother dynamic that I think we are embracing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's been different.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's been different. It's quite an adjustment. I don't know. I'll speak for myself. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be Zooming. I'm just being very honest. Me and a dear friend were speaking on the phone last night about the whole convention of it all. Just he called to tell me that he has decided against an audition that we actually have today, and it's to be chummy in a lovey scene for a diabetes ad, and he said he called his agent back to say that he doesn't want to do it now because of the scare, because of the health scare.
Wow.
And so there's anxiety. There's anxiety. I mean, of course, I am enchanted and I would take delight in the work opportunity. And I'm not, me personally, I'm not walking around in fear because I just don't live my life that way. But there is that anxiety, and then also a young girl being put on the stage at the age of 6 by my dad, who introduced me to the theater. There's nothing like the live theater.
Yep.
There's nothing like, so at the, ultimately I will be happy to revisit that dynamic again. But like I said, it's only but so much zooming. Doing. So I just gotta keep it real.
I miss human connection in theater. And I miss just even just in readings, it's just the human interaction. So even though we're doing all these wonderful things on Zoom and everybody's trying to make it work and we're doing it's very different. Also, the audience just gives you something when they're there. Even when you're on a TV set, the crew gives you something. It's just that human connection and the intimacy of that. Just in all areas. Zoom is lovely. I do Zoom every day with my family at 6 o'clock. We're all over the world, and everybody gets together at 6 o'clock and we check in, which is wonderful. But I just miss being able to actually reach out and touch people. And even when you go on a TV set now, it's very different. The crew they look like they're in hazmat suits. You're masked up to the max. I did my own makeup. I didn't want anybody to touch me. And, it's so different. So I'm just hoping that we get to a place where we all get vaccinated and we're all at least being able to be in the same room. I'm very happy about today just to see all of these actors that I know all of these actors. And normally I would run into them at an audition, or I'd run into them just walking down the street, and Jill and I would stand on the corner and talk for an hour and say, "Oh my God, I gotta go, girl." I'd see Messeret or the voiceover, I'd see her somewhere and I'd say, "How's Ed?" I'd see Daniel, "How's Nambi?" I'd see Ty. I saw Ty at Raising Canaan, which I was so happy to do. But I love when I see actors, I can reach out and we're touchy-feely people. We hug and kiss and, we're just like that, and it's so different, but we're making it work. That's what I appreciate, that we're making it work, with that we're moving into other avenues of creativity and we're figuring it out. And tech savvy stuff, I'm not tech savvy per se, but I'm more tech savvy than I think I am. I built a studio in my closet. I always had I had a mic and everything, but I built an actual studio by myself, because I had to. So that's how I feel about what's going on. But we're making it work. I just do miss that human connection. It's different.
Exactly. Well, Ty, as with a father of 3 children, and of course, remember, you got to make sure that the Wi-Fi is happening, or else no one gets educated here. So tell us about your tech game.
Yeah. So fortunately, because I have a 14-year-old who's pretty tech savvy, and the kids are facile with sort of the new software and things like that. But I look at it, just like everybody has said in this room, as 2 things. One is the sort of short term, us learning the sort of XYZs of the video conferencing platforms and appropriate lighting and things of that nature. And then I also think that there's a long term, kind of what JillMarie was alluding to, is that I personally, I question the sustainability of this whole thing, especially like for me, if I'm in the Screen Actors Guild, there's a certain threshold that one has to reach in order to get health care. So the idea of tethering healthcare to one's employment, I think, is so 20th century. We need to move beyond that, because I don't know if people are going to be able to sustain their income by doing Zoom stuff or doing, these kinds of things. Heck, if you can get TV shows and things of that nature, great. But and because of the ubiquity of cable and the Netflixes of the world and the Amazon TVs and and content. I mean, even those contracts are starting to change a little bit. But at the end of the day, there has to be a movement of some sort that shifts this idea of universal healthcare so that people don't have to worry about the things, because like JillMarie said, the anxiety. If you know that you can go to the hospital and take care of, A, B, and C with your family, then that takes care of some of that anxiety. It allows you to be in a different space to go and work. Or if you haven't worked in a while, due to certain circumstances, you're going to be okay. So I think, yes, in the short term, Black folks have always had to improvise. We've always had to figure out our healthcare situations like the folks did 100 years ago during the Renaissance. And what did they improvise? They had critical conversations about the world and what was going on, and they did art. And so we're doing that same thing. But I think one of the things we're going to have to really push in terms of conversations about where we are is like universal healthcare. We got to use our platforms to talk about that, because that is going to be something that allows this thing to sustain itself a little bit more, and allow us to improvise and you know how it is whenever Black folks do stuff. When Harlem was at its zenith, it informed the culture of the world. So somehow we're going to probably be the ones to figure out how to get out of this particular circumstance too.
Gotcha.
Hey, I've got a question for you guys. How do you feel about the stories that are being told more in the mainstream these days? Like, I noticed that, we've got One Night in Miami, we've got Judas and the Black Messiah, we've got American Skin. And it seems to me that Black creators are starting to tell stories that wouldn't get the funding and get the mainstreaming that we're seeing now. So just wanted to get your take on what you're seeing in terms of the things you're working on and the things that you are watching for yourself and enjoying.
Go ahead, Daniel.
It's an interesting phrasing, starting to tell stories or stories that are finally being like heard or paid attention to. Or people,
I know we've
oh
been
no, it's
telling
not a
stories
criticism
for a
of
long
your
time.
phrasing. It's a criticism of the condition.
Yeah.
It's like, George Floyd. It's just interesting how George Floyd has also, in his murder, has also opened up this whole thing like, oh, we got to be, pay attention. But Black creativity, there are like 1,000 people from all these periods in time that nobody's ever heard of. It's interesting. After George Floyd, well, this was earlier this year, but so I was listening to the historical stuff that people are talking about, and here's an interesting story. So the New York Times was doing an obit project on people who didn't get their due, their obituaries. And I wrote a play 10 years ago about Pigfoot Mary, the entrepreneur in Harlem. And as they were researching the article, they didn't have anything on her except for the very few bits. So the picture of Pigfoot Mary in the obituary is the actress Benja Kay in my play.
Damn. Okay.
So even when they're paying attention,
Wow.
they still don't have. So like it's there, we're here. So the focus, I think we have to seize the time, but then make the time, like with Time One Night in Miami, just to even start the conversation with that, just how the lens on what we're doing, like to make sure that we are also, the projects that we are doing, have like the depth and sustainability, because the cycle in America is always pay attention to Black people in crisis. And then crisis is over, and all of a sudden, Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that was good. That was definitely good. Something that actually came to my mind is something that you said, Jill, and I'm just curious. You said that you were doing animation. Now, help me if I'm wrong, but I thought a lot of the animation was taking place in California. Did you have to go out to California, or were you able to do it from New York in terms of animation?
Right here from New York, from my home. A little over a year ago, I assumed.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What happened? Night Watchman, what happened here? Uh-oh. Did we just
She'll
vanish?
come back. She'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Ty,
Yeah.
you want to jump on that or what?
Well, in terms of the voiceover world, so look, I've just been auditioning to, have a small little studio in my apartment, and I won't even call it a studio, a little area. I'll call it an area. You just try to make sure that your mic is clear, submit, and then it's in the hands of the casting folks. So there are other people who have had different experiences. Please jump in.
Yes, Messeret.
Yeah, well, yeah, same thing. Well, we made a closet. Excuse me. We made a closet into a booth, so it is a booth now, and just kind of covered it with on Amazon. You can get the soundproofing pieces to put up. So we did that in there, and mic. They have a mic and computer and the software in order. I think. Well, I use Audacity to record it and submit. And actually, one of the first pieces that I auditioned, or first things that I auditioned for, I actually booked, and they called in with Source Connect. They were able to connect. Yeah, that's another thing that we use. And so with Source Connect, got that. Excuse me, and that's my hookup. So we were able to communicate.
Sorry for the technical issue.
No, see, Jill, this is what happens, as you said, during this lockdown.
Sorry for the technical issue, but do you want me to answer your question?
Yes, indeed. Go ahead, my dear.
So yes, my bookings have been right here in New York, and as I said about a year ago, I got new representation, so I have like a bigger team, and I just wanted to say, and credit to our representatives, they're hustling too. We hustle, but they're hustling for us, and they have been very proactive, and I've been booking those gigs right here in New York, and they could be from anywhere. It could be from New Mexico. It could be from LA or Toronto.
Jill, are we talking about, let's say, SAG after like union reps or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Would everyone agree that that in terms of the union has been pretty good in terms of advocating for you guys during this lockdown, or what? Somebody.
So it's a mixed bag, I think. So Actors Equity Association has a 30-page document around safety, for theater to come back. I'm a union person, and I just think that further negotiations have to happen. But the truth is that I think our leadership right now, I'll just put it that way, and try to be as diplomatic as I possibly can be. But I think our leadership is they're making decisions as if this was still March and April of 2020. We now have a sample size of data, and I think we should be making decisions based off of that data. Leadership 101, those who you lead in times of crisis can never panic. So, when you have your mayor says something like schools are going to get locked down, and then your governor then goes on television 2 hours later and says, well, that person doesn't have the authority to do that. That right there will probably lead those who you lead to panic. Yes. And unfortunately, we see what the results are when people panic. So now I feel like what we need to do, calm down, let's take a look at the data and make decisions from there. And hopefully our unions will do that same thing. Screen actors, that's with Actors Equity. Screen Actors Guild, I think, they're doing everything they can to, make sure people are safe. And I just think that the ultimate challenges are going to be us as citizens and constituents to be able to inform our leaders that, perhaps resources need to be focused on those who are most vulnerable, and as some sort of pathway out of this.
Gotcha. Daniel, was I reading something in your face?
I co-sign everything that Ty was saying. I think that
Okay.
we have to look at 21st century now as opposed to what was, and I think that is tricky. I also want to give a kind of a shout out to a lot of these young people or actors of all ages who are coming in, and there's really not a lot for them, and they are doing their best, hanging out in these Zoom meetings, doing the readings, doing the work, trying to figure it out. You know, it's always a blessing to be able to work, and also to try to bring people along as best as you can, in the middle of it, because this won't be forever. But um, it's just really tricky. I mean, even directing, it's like, am I directing a film or a play? You know what I mean? It's always like I have to constantly look at it from that perspective now, as
Got it.
opposed to what I really want to do is put bodies on stages and, and have a communal experience,
Got it. Got it. Kim, what were you about to say?
I don't remember. That was a while back. What was I going to say? I don't remember. It was truly a while back.
You
Oh,
know what?
I was going to talk about voiceover work.
Okay.
I too have done some animated things, and everything is done right from here. The interesting thing is that too is even a little different, because you go to a studio and everybody does everything for you, but now you have to do everything for yourself. You are the technician. You are also the voice. I mean, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
So it's challenging. It's different. We're getting it done. We're moving along. I am concerned about what will happen with healthcare, with actors particularly. As Ty said, everything that he said, I totally agree with it. It is becoming, we need a different system. This is not going to work moving forward.
Got it.
And it's really hard on people, especially people who have families, and older. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It can't be based on only what we're doing as far as work. I don't know what will happen in terms of theater. I can't really see anything moving forward. I'm sure they're trying to work it out, but I think everybody needs to get vaccinated, and then at that point we can see where we are. We can see where this virus is, because frankly, I don't know that people will want to come to the theater and sit near each other unless that is handled. And then the actors on stage, we can't just be 6 feet apart and really make art the way that we want to make art.
Correct.
So I think there's a lot that needs to happen moving forward. I think the best thing that we can possibly do right now is to take a breath and figure out what it is we do want to do moving forward, various ideas of moving forward, and maybe a lot of creatives putting their heads together to see what it is that we can do as a community moving forward, because I think it's going to be different. And I think we have to accept that.
Go ahead.
Can I piggyback something?
Go ahead, Jill.
Being a resident right here, me and Kim, we are right here in the theater district. It is very different. It's like almost like a ghost town, And those theaters, particularly the Broadway houses, those are I used to work in the Broadway houses as a teenager, selling programs, but those houses are very, very old. And the theaters that I see that may open first, I may be wrong, may be amphitheaters. If they're talking about the dynamic of this, of how these varying strains and mutations and the virus and how aggressive it is, I don't see the older theaters really opening very quickly because the ventilation is very, very dated. Right. And those theaters are super old, and those chairs, the seating is super close. I'm going to say that maybe amphitheater hit the grids. That's my prediction. I don't know.
So May I jump in? So I think there are two things, buckets that we all should think about. One is non-union work, right? So there's been explosion of non-union work. You can go to Fiverr, and all these voiceover artists are there, and God bless them. They just want to get money like. So and producers are going to be using non-union folks, or they will use celebrities. So all those people in the middle who are part of boutique agencies and stuff like that are the ones who are going to be sort of caught in the lurch. You know, celebrities doing these commercials, and you know, it's normal now. At one point in time, they wouldn't be caught doing commercials like movie stars and stuff like that. But you know, now that it's a real thing, it's either non-union work or it's going to be celebrities, and everybody in the middle, we're the ones that are, you know, trying to struggle to get whatever work is left over that is union. So that's one thing that's been happening a lot. That's a bit of a change. And those people who are doing the non-union work, there's no contribution to any pension. There's no contribution to any help whatsoever. So, you know, that I don't know how sustainable that is. And then the other part is in terms of how do we get back? And I've said it earlier, so forgive me for being a bit hackneyed here. But at the end of the day, it is going to take us as citizens, I believe, to be able to take that step forward. So when JillMarie talks about the amphitheaters, we want to move forward in July with our outdoor production. And then people can see that. And I think that's where the anxiety goes away. People will see, wow, okay, I chose to be here. Okay, well, there's some distance here. Fantastic show. And we can take what we do in July as a template for other theaters to use to say, okay, we can check that box. This is what worked. This could be improved here or whatever. But we just have to do it. There's going to be, I think it's going to be the people that are going to help make this happen. And we can do it in a very manageable way, in a cogent way, as opposed to this, you know, leadership from above, you know, mandating, you know, the next steps that we take, especially when we know that the steps that they're taking aren't necessarily being based on the sample size that we have right now. So I think that the arts, when I say that, I don't mean it just as a perfunctory thing to say. The arts can lead us out of this.
Yeah. Well, you know what, in the meantime, what we've done, you know, on piggybacking on performances with American Slavery Project, we are doing audio dramas for our season. From this month, February through to Juneteenth, we have a different event each month, a performance, and then it'll be followed by a panel discussion. So we've kind of embraced where we are right now, because we don't know what the future holds, to bring art and discussion in the community about what's happening and what actually it's called reverberation plays. Black history isn't an event, it's a legacy. So we explore a lot of different issues from this month through June. And, you know, I encourage people to visit our site to learn more, www.americanslaveryproject.org.
Well, Night Watchman, how we doing, buddy? Talk to me.
We're just finishing up. We've got a couple more minutes. So
Okay.
final thoughts. What are you guys doing for Black History Month?
Well, I'm here with you guys. Yay.
I imagine every single one of us is probably booked up. Either somebody's talking to a school or a bunch of. So the same thing with me. Like, yeah, a lot of folks want me to come in to speak about, you know, the Harlem Renaissance, you know, Black history.
Nice.
But I think ultimately what it comes down to, it's kind of what Messeret said. It's every single month. I don't want to just like, you know, do it this month. I don't want it to let up. I want people to get that, you know, Black history is American history, just like everything else. So Classical Theater Harlem, cthnyc.org. Got a new website. We actually have merch now. Shirts. We're really lucky. Andre Brower is on our board, and he's going to be wearing our logo on his television show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So we're hoping we can get more visibility for Classical Theater of Harlem, because I'm determined that to use our platform to you know, not only bring attention to those, you know, with food and housing insecurity, but at the end of the day, the measure for society is how well we treat those that are most in need. And you know, I've said it before, the arts can lead the way. And we're in a room right now of some sensational artists. And Curtis, thank you so much for giving us a platform to talk about what we're doing. Right. And at the end of the day, you know, we are the promise. You know, we are the solution.
Nice.
Right. So we want to thank all of you, Kim Brockington, Messeret Stroman Wheeler, Ty Jones, Daniel Carlton, and JillMarie Lawrence. Thank you for joining us on Soul Lounge Primetime on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Also streaming on our YouTube platform. And if you are listening to this on either of those live, join us afterwards on Clubhouse. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, guys. Love you guys.
Thank you.